What's cracking, big dogs? How we living? Welcome back to the HQ. It's your man's Nick, representing Big Dogs Gotta Eat Fantasy Football, BDGE. We're jumping into a 2019 fantasy football mock draft. We're looking at an early 2019 fantasy football mock draft because it's obviously still March, but free agency is starting to wrap up, so I'm getting the itch. I'm getting the fiend. Your boy wants to draft. I gotta be honest. I'm surprised you just got a smile out of me because I just taped this entire thing, like 45 minutes long, spewing out big facts. Like, I felt like really good about it. I feel like I dropped a great episode, only to figure out that, oh no, I was recording, but OBS crashed as soon as I hit stop recording and it did not save it. So, sorry if I'm a little bent up with anger right now, but I think you're going to get a lot of good energy from me, for better or worse. We're going to do a 2019 fantasy football mock draft on, stay with me here, on draft.com. So let me enter this draft lobby real quick, and I'll explain to you exactly what draft.com is if you're not familiar with it. Now, draft.com is a completely draft-centric website. What I mean by that is it's a best ball draft, right? Okay, so best ball is basically when the only thing you do is draft your team. You don't make in-season roster moves. You don't make waiver wire moves. You don't make trades or anything. You literally just draft, and then you come back at the end of the season to see how your team did. I mean, you could monitor it throughout the season, obviously, and see how your team is doing, but it's just for drafting. And you might be like, why the hell would I want to do that? One, because waiver wire moves take a long time. Two, it's a way for you to stay engaged. I just keep going back and forth with the numbers. Stay engaged throughout the offseason and kind of have your finger on the pulse of where players are going, where they're valued, and just really stay in tune with everything that's going on, because as the years go by, football is getting more and more popular, especially fantasy football, and I know I have the itch to draft at all times. So draft.com opens up best ball drafts early, like as soon as the season ends, which is really awesome because I think I've done like 30 of them already. And what you do is you draft a roster of about 18 people. It's 1 quarterback starts, 2 running backs, 3 wide receivers, and 1 tight end. But you pick 18 people because you cannot make any in-season moves, right? So pretty much the software on the website automatically starts the best performing player on your team for that given week. And I'm wondering if I could add anyone to this. No, I guess I can only invite my friends when I create my own draft. So yeah, like on draft.com, you can add me as a friend, and I'll add you back if you add me, and then I can invite you. If I create a draft, whether it's $1 or $10 or whatever buy-in, I'll invite you to it. And that's the cool thing about draft. That's the best part, is that all of the drafts are not actually mock drafts. They're a buy-in draft. You could do free ones on here, I'm pretty sure, actually, but you could do dollar ones, right? So you're not really spending a lot of money, but since people are putting real money into it, you're actually getting like a real mock draft as opposed to like Fantasy Football Calculator or Yahoo or something where people start taking like kickers in the 7th round and whatnot. So this is a very realistic view about how drafts would go. There's no kickers, there's no defense, it's half PPR. And as soon as it fills up, there's 7 of 10 people in here right now. I'm wondering if it's ever going to fill up. There's 7 of 10 people in here right now. So hopefully this fills up soon, and then it'll automatically kind of decide your draft order for you. I hit refresh to maybe see if more people join. Nope. Okay, sick. So you draft your big team, and it starts the best player. So with that in mind, your strategy has to be a little bit different than you would for a normal draft, right? Because you don't have to choose who to sit start, which makes guys like Tariq Hill, makes Tariq Cohen, all the Tariqs. Everyone Tariq is really fucking fast. That's actually kind of funny. I know like 2 people named Tariq that are also really fast. Yeah, anyone who has like that really high ceiling but a bust potential is a great pick in best ball because you don't have to decide when to sit him and start him. So we got 9 out of 10, hopefully. And we'll talk about some free agents while we're waiting for the last person to join. As I was mentioning before, there we go. We got the last person in. If you join using my promo code BDGE, you will get $3 to play with. So join using my promo code, get $3, throw $10 in there so that you could do 10 drafts, right? You could do for the next 2 months, you'll be good with $10. You could add me. My username is up there, right here. Nick Ercolano, add me. I'll add you back, and then I'll invite you to the drafts that I open up for my subscribers. I literally open them up all the time. I have, as you can see, I have 6 right here that were all created by me. So I'm constantly inviting you guys into this. So make sure you do that. Draft.com/BDGE. Use promo code BDGE. Get $3. Get $3. Draft starting in 15 seconds. So there's been a lot of nonsense going on in the NFL the last few days between free agency signings and trades and whatnot. So I have the 5th pick. And again, it's half PPR. So this should actually be a really interesting draft spot considering, people are a little bit down on Barkley now that OBJ is gone. People are down on Gurley because of what happened at the end of the season. I would gladly take either of them at the 5. I doubt they'll fall to me, but you never know. And on draft, you could choose between, there goes Barkley at 1. You could choose between doing a slow draft or you could choose between doing a fast draft. A fast draft is 30 seconds, so when you actually have time between picks, or when you have time to actually sit down and do a draft like I'm doing now, 30 seconds between picks. All the ones I open up with my subscribers are slow drafts, which means they are 8 hours in between picks. And that might sound crazy if you've never done a slow draft, but it's very convenient because you don't always have to be by your phone and you get a notification. You could download the app. They have a draft app, which is actually really clean and really good on the phone. So you could download that stuff and it'll notify you. So you're not like every waking minute like looking for your pick or whatnot. You just get in there and then it's your pick and you have a while to go for it. So we have Barkley off the board, Zeke, Kamara, DeAndre Hopkins. So we have C-Mac and Todd Gurley both left on the board. Now, I said I would love to get Gurley at 5, and that was only because I was assuming that Christian McCaffrey wasn't going to be there. I don't really own any C-Macs because out of like 25 best ball leagues I've done, I've pretty much had like the 8 to 10 pick in almost every one. So this is kind of cool. I'm going to grab McCaffrey over Gurley because I have him higher in my rankings right now. But obviously I don't hate Gurley at a discount either. Anything at like the 4 to 9 range, I'm with Gurley. In the last draft I did, like I told you, I just recorded this pretty much and then had to redo it because it closed out. The last draft I did, C-Mac went at the 101. Zeke went 2, then Barkley went 3. So you're seeing him drop because people are a little bit nervous with OBJ out of there. And I think rightfully so because defenses are literally only going to have to zone in on Barkley. His PPR points per game last year dropped from 25 down to 20 per game when OBJ was not in the lineup. So it's significant. But the way I look at it is I'm almost pretty sure Saquon Barkley is going to destroy Christian McCaffrey's reception record last year, right? He caught 104 balls, which was the running back record in a single season. And Barkley is going to be absolutely spoon-fed the ball. If you don't have OBJ, like he is going to be the one and only option in that offense. So I still love Saquon as the 101. Beckham went at 9. I'll read off the guys to you. So we had Barkley, Zeke, Kamara, D-Hop, McCaffrey, Tyreek Hill. So that's what I'm talking about. In these kind of formats, a guy like Tyreek Hill goes a lot higher because his boom-bust potential is significant compared to a guy like Devontae Adams, who's more consistent, but doesn't normally give you those wide receiver 1 weeks that help you, really rack up points in this type of scoring. Then we had Gurley, Gordon, Beckham, Bell. Man, if Gordon falls to me at 108 in any of my drafts, I'm going to be very excited. Beckham at 109, Bell the 110. That's too early for me. If you missed my Le'Veon Bell breakdown video yesterday or 2 days ago, I will link it up there. And it's just a lot of things that scare me away from Le'Veon Bell. Thomas, Devontae Adams, David Johnson, James Conner. A lot of good options still left on the board for me. I would take... the 2 spots looking crispy this year or the 5 spots looking hella crispy in season-long drafts right now. I would take Julio, Juju, Mixon, Dalvin Cook, Nick Chubb, Travis Kelce. Oh, boy. All right, so normally in a season long, I would probably grab Juju or Dalvin Cook here because I'm gaining a lot of steam on both of those guys. With Antonio Brown out, I think Juju is literally like a decent bet to finish as a wide receiver 1 in fantasy. Don't at me on that. I'm going to go with Kelce here because Kelce is extremely valuable in a format like this because it automatically starts your best tight end week over week, and Kelce's pretty much going to he's going to be like a top 3 tight end every single week. So he gives you those points above replacement on the other teams on a weekly basis. So I like Kelce more in this than I do in season long, although at the 206, I'm perfectly fine having drafting Kelce in season long as well because if you look at the drop-offs between tight end 1 and tight end 10, it's almost like a 9-point per game difference in fantasy. But if you look at the drop-off between wide receiver 1 and wide receiver like 7, it's like a 2-point per game fantasy difference, right? So that's what you're going to get when you're drafting the difference between the two positions. I hope that makes sense to you. The positional advantage for Kelsey is so drastic that it's probably worth grabbing him in the second round. Now, if George Kittle drops to me in the third round, I would probably be a little upset because I could have grabbed a Juju, or I could have grabbed a Mixon. Oh, maybe Dalvin Cook falls to me. It's 2 more picks. All right, so Dalvin Cook or... Come on, bro, get off. There goes Dalvin Cook. Okay, so it's my pick. Mike Evans or Kerryon Johnson are definitely the 2 guys that I'm looking at. And I have a running back, a tight end. I don't have any receivers yet. I'm going to go with Mike Evans because I think he had pretty much his best career year last year, especially from like an efficiency standpoint, right? Now, with Arians coming in, with Deshaun Jackson gone, with Adam Humphries gone, I think his efficiency stays the same, but his volume is going to go up. If you look at the first few years when he was in Tampa Bay, he was competing for the league lead in terms of targets, right? He was consistently around 165, 170. It was only until Deshaun Jackson and Adam Humphries started playing a little bit more that his targets started going down to like the 150, 145 mark. With those guys gone, Mike Evans is going to be back up to that like 165 to 170 mark, along with a lot of those being deep passes, So not only is the volume up, but the type of volume he's getting is going to be very, very valuable. Because him and Deshaun Jackson, like Mike Evans, I'm pretty sure was top 3 or so in terms of air yards for receivers last year. Let me check Player Profiler. So he's getting a ton of deep passes already. And now you take Deshaun Jackson out of the equation, who was like top 20 in air yards and deep targets as well. And Mike Evans' ceiling, as Snacks would say, is the roof. There you go. So Mike Evans right here. I don't know if you could see my mouse, can you? Oh, maybe you haven't been able to see my mouse this whole time. But if you look at kind of the middle of the screen, he is number 1 in air yards. He was number 1 in air yards last year, number 5 in yards per target, getting a lot of deep passes. So Mike Evans, I think, is set up to be, I think he's super undervalued as a third-round pick, especially in the later half of the third round. So George Kittle fell all the way to the 4th round, which is surprising. That's easily the latest I've seen him fall. I love Marlon Mack. Give me Marlon Mack. Please don't draft him. Please. Please. Hey, you fucking fool, drafting Derrick Henry. So, Marlon Mack is my boy this year. And I know a lot of y'all are going to be like, oh, but they're going to bring in Jay. Yeah, you know what? Listen. The Colts have Marlon Mack, and they have Nyheim Hines as their passing down back. They don't trust Jordan Wilkins. Jordan Wilkins runs a 4.7 40-yard dash. He is not explosive. He is not athletic. They understand that they don't really have anything in Jordan Wilkins behind him. So, seeing how this running back market is extremely weak in terms of what they're going to have to pay a running back, like Tevin Coleman, who's 24 now, just got an $8 million deal from San Francisco. Jay Ajayi is probably going to get a really short-term deal and not a lot of money. So from the Colts' point of view, they're getting a veteran. They're getting a guy who can take over if Marlon Mack gets hurt for a cheap price and not having to use another draft pick on a running back if they have to. It's a depth move in my opinion. Ajayi hasn't been good on the field in almost 2 years now, and he is absolutely not anywhere near the ceiling that a lot of people think he is. So for Marlon Mack, I'm not worried about Jay Ajayi joining. When I look at Marlon Mack, dude, he had so many. I'm gonna pull up his game logs quickly, and I tweeted this out. I tweet a lot of big facts out for y'all. So if you are not following me on Twitter at Nick_BDGE, I would highly suggest doing that because there's a lot of stuff I don't put into my YouTube videos that I do twat out for y'all. Like, look at some of these individual game logs that Mac had last year. Let me just make sure my pick didn't go by. Woods, Lindsey, Cooks. Dude, the 5th round is rich with a lot of players, man. I'll take Geis right here if he is. Come on. He took Geis. So Galladay, I like. Like I said, Tariq Cohen is really good in this format. I like Julian Edelman. In the 5th round, he's an absolute steal in season-long leagues. But the fact that this is best ball and you want your players to have a very high ceiling. I don't think Julian Edelman really has that. So I would be deciding between Cooper Kupp and Kenny Golladay here. I think in my rankings it's very close, but I do have Golladay ahead. Plus, I don't have a lot of shares of Golladay. I do a lot of these best ball drafts. I think I've pretty much done like 20 of them already this offseason. And I diversify the players as much as I possibly can. Because listen, when you're drafting, you're going to fuck up a lot of things. Or when you're analyzing players, right? Like for me, I don't like Derrick Henry and I don't want to own him anywhere. But if I'm in 5 season-long leagues, I will make sure that I own him in at least one. Because if I'm wrong, it's going to cost me. The opportunity cost is massive. So one really big tip is just to diversify the revenue, diversify your players. But back to Marlon Mack, he's had individual game logs. Look at these numbers. 19 for 26, along with a touchdown and 33 yards and a touchdown through the air. 25 for 132 and 2. 27 for 139 and 2. 25 for 119 and 1. 24 for 148 and 1. Bro, he was dynamite on the ground last year. He did have a few games that stretch in the middle of the season where he was not that good, but he missed a lot of games. He was bruised up. Weeks 2 and week 6, he barely played 30% of the snaps. I think he played 20% of the snaps in week 2, 30% of the snaps in week 6. So you're looking at a guy who wasn't at full strength, that wasn't given a full workload. And I did a study earlier in the offseason. I was looking at guys who missed multi-week injuries last year. I think I took the top 36 running backs, and I looked at the top 36 fantasy running backs, how they finished last year. And I looked at all of the guys who missed multiple weeks, at least multiple weeks of the season. And I wanted to see what their performance was like in that first game back from the multi-week injury thing. And I wanted to compare it to their overall season numbers. So I looked at, receptions per game, snaps per game, rushing yardage per game, things like that. And it turns out, unsurprisingly, that whoever missed, I think I had a sample size of about 15 running backs who missed multiple weeks in the top 36, and that would count anyone who missed the entire preseason along with week 1, which is Marlon Mack. It would also count a couple guys who missed multiple weeks multiple times, so like Sony Michel. Their first game back, on average, the running backs missed 35% of the snaps compared to their season-long average. So when you're looking at players, right, and you're looking at points per game, because points per game for fantasy is much more predictive in terms of just overall fantasy rank, right? So when you look at Marlon Mack, he averaged 13.4 fantasy points per game in half PPR, which was RB11 on the year. And that doesn't take into consideration if you were to discount his week 2 and week 6, which were both coming off multi-week injuries, which were both him playing in less than 30% of the snaps. His points per game go up to like that RB8, RB6 range. And I don't understand what the reason, I think we just need, as a fantasy community, to be more excited about his upside, because upside is so real. Think about Todd Gurley's rookie year. Go look at Marlon Mack's numbers last year and go look at Todd Gurley's numbers his rookie year. They are nearly identical. They are so close to each other that it makes me think Marlon Mack is going to have a Todd Gurley-esque breakout type season next year. Yards per carry were about the same. This is an easy one. Cooper Kupp's still on the board, so I'm definitely taking him. No need to talk about that. After Marlon Mack, I'll get back into some of the mock draft and take a look at what I'm seeing on the board. Marlon Mack had nearly the same yards per carry number. So he was at 4.7 last year. Gurley had 4.8. Gurley had about 100 yards more on the ground than Mack did, but he also played in an extra game. He had 10 total touchdowns compared to Todd Gurley's 9. They both averaged about the same exact receptions per game. They were the same player last year as Gurley was in his rookie year. What did it take for Todd Gurley to break out? It took a really good offensive line, an elite offensive line. That's exactly what the Colts have. They were the 3rd-ranked run-blocking line per PFF last year and 4th-ranked per Football Outsiders, and they're very young. They're only going to get better as the continuity continues. That line is going to be destructive, which is a huge piece for Marlon Mack. Todd Gurley, he needed to be in an offense that had a ton of scoring opportunities. What does Marlon Mack have? I mean, he had 9 rushing touchdowns in 12 games. With that offense next year, again, they're going to be better next year with more weapons, a better offensive line. He's going to get so many scoring opportunities, and he's easily the goal line back there. They're not going to put Jordan Wilkins in there for no reason. Nyheim Hines is small. It's Marlon Mack's job, and they're going to have a ton of scoring opportunities. We saw in those 10 full games he played, 1, 2... All right, well, he had multiple touchdowns in 3 games because he had a receiving touchdown. So, that multiple touchdowns in 33% of your games is drastic for fantasy. That is huge. I think we're just underestimating Mac's upside. The problem, of course, is his ability in the receiving game. He is plenty able to be like a receiver and produce out of the backfield, because if you look at his numbers from South Florida when he was in college 2 years ago, his college target share was in the 79th percentile. So he proved in college that he could catch plenty of passes. So we have a tight end. Definitely not looking at a tight end. I could care less about quarterbacks right now. It is late in the 6th. It is late in the 7th, and I do have Deshaun Watson in that realm. Let me see if I have any other. I love Tyler Boyd. Tyler Boyd's my fucking boy this year. So I took Tyler Boyd. I have 4 receivers, 2 running backs, and a tight end on my roster. So yeah, Marlon Mack, the only thing is with the receiving game. Is he going to get the number of looks that we'd want him to get? Nyheim Hines had 81 targets last year. I didn't realize he had that many targets. So we'll see how it goes with Mack. But, I mean, Jim Irsay came out last summer, prior to this year, and said Mack is certainly capable of 1,500 yards and playing on all 3 downs. And if you pace out Marlon Mack's per game numbers, he's at about 1,500 yards. So they clearly believe in him, and I do not think JHI is going to affect him whatsoever. Let's talk about the mock draft. So McKinnon just went in the 7th round, that before Hunter Henry, Tyler Boyd, Baker Mayfield. That's disgusting. So let's look back at some other notable picks. Oh, man, the value at wide receivers in like the 3rd, 4th, 5th round is absurd. Amari Cooper, 4.7. T.Y. Hilton, 4.8. Stephon Diggs, 4.9. Robert Woods, 5.1. Brandon Cooks, 5.3. Galladay, 5.5. Julian Edelman at the 5.8. See, Jarvis Landry is a miserable pick now with Odell in Cleveland, especially for best ball because he doesn't really have a ceiling. Kenyon Drake is a little bit iffy. I'd rather take Kalen Ballage 10 rounds later. Chris Godwin, I really, really like Chris Godwin, obviously, with Deshaun Jackson and Adam Humphries gone. Hopefully Godwin moves into the slot and he could be one of the bigger slot receivers like we're seeing, the Juju Smiths and the Adam Thielens and those kind of guys be really good in the slot. And I think Chris Godwin fits that role great because he has great metrics as a prospect, really good weight adjusted speed score and stuff like that. So let's talk about tight ends. So O.J. Howard went at the 5.9. I think that's about right. That's really where I'm seeing him, about the 4th tight end off the board. And in almost 90% of my best ball drafts, if I miss out on the top 3 guys, O.J. Howard is pretty much the guy I'm drafting in the 5th round or 6th round of every draft if he drops to me there. Saw Ebron go off the board. I like Ebron because in a best ball draft, you're not always going to get an elite tight end, but you want to get guys who have touchdown upside, right? Because if you score, think about it, if you score a touchdown as a tight end, you're pretty much going to end up as a top 12 fantasy scorer for that week, right? You're going to be a tight end 1 just because you scored a touchdown. So if you can't get the elite guys, you want to go for the touchdown scoring guys because any given week, if you pair up 2 or 3 of them, they'll probably give you a touchdown 2 out of the next 3 games. So that will give you a top 10 tight end for the most part. But I don't suggest really fading the top tight ends. Alshon Jeffrey off the board. Corey Davis. All right. I see some running backs down there that I love, but I'm going to go with Lamar Miller here. I know that's not a fun pick. I know that's definitely not something y'all are going to be excited about. But listen, he went over 1,200 yards again, which is, I think, the 5th straight year he's done that, and had 6 total touchdowns. So that's 5 straight years. I think I remember doing a wild stat that I put on every Wednesday. I do a wild stat Wednesday of a crazy stat I find, and I put it on my Instagram. So if you're not following me there, make sure you do it at Big Dogs Fantasy. And one I found prior to last season was Lamar Miller is the only back with 4 consecutive seasons that was, continuing into 2018 of 1,200 total yards and 6 total touchdowns. And he literally did it again. He got it by like 15 yards and hit the 6 touchdown mark. So this will be his 5th consecutive season with it. Now, with Lamar Miller, here's the thing. You want to be like, they have to move on and get a different running back, right? But Lamar Miller was okay last year. Not great. He had some really big games and some shitty games. But you didn't hear anything, not a single thing about the Texans linked to a free agent running back. In a class that you could get a running back for pretty cheap, he was not linked. I didn't see a single report about the Texans being linked to a free agent running back. And there was reports that they think you see the report right there, actually. Latest news. General manager Brian Gain endorsed Miller as the Texans starting running back for the 2019 season. Aaron Wilson of the Houston Chronicle reports he's a 3-down back, Gain noted Thursday at the NFL Combine. So you're getting reports out of their camp that they literally still view Lamar Miller as a 3-down back there. And he's someone you're getting in the 8th round. Like last year, it was a little bit risky because you had the same risk in terms of them bringing in a free agent or them drafting someone, but you had to pick him in like the 4th, 5th round. Now he's going in the 8th, 9th round. So I like him in best ball. They might still draft a running back. They might definitely still draft a running back, but that does not mean it's a definite thing, given the fact that they didn't even look at a free agent. The next running back I absolutely love is Jaylen Samuels. Jaylen Samuels. I have picked him in the 9th round of, I think, every best ball draft that I've done over the last 6 months. I've only been doing them for about 4 weeks, so that was an ignorant statement. Jaylen Samuels. You'll hear more about him on Tuesday's video, which is my top running back sleepers, an early look at my top sleepers at the running back position. I absolutely love Jaylen Samuels. He is a dynamite pass catcher. He is 6 foot 225, so he has the workhorse size if something were to happen to James Conner to take over, right? He is as good of a pass catcher as like a James White or any of those guys, Duke Johnson, but he is built like a workhorse running back, which is the crazy upside you have. In my opinion, right, the last game of the season when James Conner came back from his injury, Jaylen Samuels had found his role, and he caught 7 of 8 targets in that last game. So he became the pass-catching back there. And I think we're going to see a lot more of that going into the 2019 season. I think that's kind of going to be the split there. I think they're going to use both backs. And you look at Antonio Brown gone, Jesse James gone. There's a lot of targets up for grabs. And Jaylen Samuels is someone who played both tight end and running back in college. So they could put him outside as a weapon. They don't need to necessarily have him as their starting running back. And this is absolutely James Conner's job to lose. This is not, I don't think that like Jaylen Samuels is going to win the starting running back job by any means. When you look at Jaylen Samuels, like I said, 6 foot 225, 82nd percentile weight adjusted speed score, college target share, 97th percentile. He saw 20.2% of his team's target share while he was in college, which is an astronomical number for running backs. The big kicker here, though, is who the Steelers brought in this offseason. They brought in this guy named Eddie Faulkner, who's taking over as their running backs coach. Eddie Faulkner previously worked at North Carolina State for the last 5 or 6 years as the running back / tight ends coach. Guess where Jaylen Samuels went to college? North Carolina State University. Now, I'm going to pull up his college numbers for y'all. Look at his receiving totals. 65 receptions, 55 receptions, 75 receptions, 774 in the touchdown department. Then look at his rushing numbers. 9, 6, 12. So you're looking at 16 touchdowns, 13 touchdowns, 16 touchdowns in that offense while that coach was there. That coach comes to Pittsburgh. There is literally no one in the world better that you could have found to know Jaylen Samuels' skill set, how to use him, and is going to advocate for Jaylen Samuels to be on the field. He's going to push to make Jaylen Samuels a key cog in this offense. So what I'm saying is not only am I just arguing that, if something happens to James Conner, Jaylen Samuels is the guy, because that's bad analysis. I think Jaylen Samuels has a legitimate very high floor as well as a very high ceiling. Okay, so we saw some tight ends go off the board. How is a guy like Austin Hooper going off the board before Royce Freeman? Oh, man, I want to take Royce right now. But, oh, no, you know what? I already took Kelsey, so I don't have to worry about tight ends because Vance McDonald is still sitting there. But I think on a weekly basis, Vance is going to outscore Kelsey like one time. So we're going to go with Royce. We're going to go with my boy Royce. I like Royce a lot. Royce is another guy I'm going to talk about in next week's video. So stay tuned for that on Tuesday. Monday's video, if you guys have missed any of my behind-the-scenes interviews, talking to some of the bigger fantasy influencers in the space, is wrapping up the trio of the fantasy footballers. So I got Mike the Hitman Wright coming on Monday. We actually videotaped it a couple days ago, and it was probably one of my most enjoyable interviews I've done with someone so far. I got Graham Barfield coming on too, so I'm super fucking pumped about that. A lot of good names as well as Curtis Patrick. So if you're not following them on Twitter, go do that. But stay tuned for Monday's video. Royce Freeman. We got Philip Lindsay here, right? We have absolutely no track record of a guy Philip Lindsay's size being successful over a long span. And that's not my analysis because I think that's shitty analysis. He was awesome last year. But he started tearing down at the end of the year. The last 3 or 4 games of the season, he was not good. He had, I think, 38 rushes for 100 yards, 2.8 yards per carry. His body was getting beat up, given the size, not surprising. And then he ended up on the IR, right? He ended up hurting his wrist. There was ligament damage and all this stuff. And this is a very lengthy period of recovery for him, right? He's going to have to recover for about 6 months. And that would put him returning around June, probably mid-June. And their OTAs, or their offseason training, starts in mid-May. And why that's significant is they have an entirely new coaching staff. Head coach Vic Fangio, OC Rich Scangarello, and like that means that those starting jobs are absolutely up for grabs. Royce Freeman graded out better than Philip Lindsay in almost every single metric on both Pro Football Focus and Player Profiler. The only one that Philip Lindsay won the metric battle in was run blocking efficiency, which is just the line literally blocked better for Philip Lindsay than Royce Freeman. And that's why the numbers were there. So I could see the split being a lot more in the middle. Fitz, Christian Kirk. I want one of these Arizona wide receivers for sure. I haven't got enough Kirk yet, I think. So I'm going to keep grabbing Kirk. And if you want to know why I love Kirk, you can go check out my wide receiver sleeper video that I released a couple weeks ago. I'll link that up there as well as in the description down low. I love Christian Kirk this year. I just like that whole Arizona offense to kind of take a big step up. I mean, you have Cliff Kingsbury coming in there, and I'm not saying this is going to be a good thing for their actual record or the NFL, like real games wise, but they're going to be passing the ball a lot more than they were last year, and they're going to be passing the ball probably at a rate of like 65%. And they're going to run a lot more plays because of it. And Cliff is Cliff is a very good thing for fantasy, even if you don't think he's a good coach in real life. Okay, so as you can see, I have not touched a quarterback yet. Now, I don't touch quarterbacks in these until the later rounds, unless like an Aaron Rodgers falls to me in like the 8th round or something like that, or 9th round. The reason being is that there's no reason to take one of those high quarterbacks in like the 6th round when you could be taking, like a Cooper Kupp in the 6th. When you're going to be able to get a combination of Cam Newton, Carson Wentz, and Dak Prescott at the end of drafts. Like, it's ridiculous the stack you can get. And between those three, if you get those three guys on your team, on any given week, one of them is probably going to be in the top 5 of fantasy quarterbacks. So you'll be fine at quarterback if you completely fade the position. With tight end, I will go with 2 tight ends as long as I have one of the top tier guys. So if I get Kelsey, Ertz, or Kittle, then I won't draft 3 of them. The way it usually works out is I'll end up with 7 or 8 running backs, 7 or 8 wide receivers, and then 2 and 3 of either tight end and quarterback, depending on who I got early. And again, guys, I draft with my subs all the time on this, so make sure you go sign up, draft.com/BDGE. That'll give you $3 to play with. Deposit $10 in there, and you will be good to mock with me for the next 2 months. And it'll get you prepped. You'll feel really good about picking guys. Plus, it's just fun to draft right now, dude. And you come back in January, and guess what? Collect that paper. But I actually want to show you guys something in a really interesting thread I found from a guy named Mike Beers. Now, he is coming up as someone who is like well-known kind of in the Twitter world as being like the best ball guy, right? If you listen to any of my behind-the-scenes interviews with like, Andy Holloway or any of those guys so far, we always talk about like finding your niche and finding what like separates you from everybody else. Mike Beers has done a phenomenal job of that because he's starting to become like the best ball guy. And now I know best ball is not mainstream, right? But it's getting more popular, and he is going to probably be like the go-to. Oh, I see that this is clipped to just this window. That's why. Give me a second. Let me make my pick first after this. I don't like any of these wide receivers right now. I like Albert Wilson a lot, but there's probably some good running backs still on the board. Yeah, I like Nyheim Hines, even though I don't think they're going to be trailing much, so I can see his value really taking a hit this year. Dude, I don't understand how Rex Burkhead keeps dropping, too. Rex Burkhead has been my pick in, like, the 13th round or 12th round of almost every one of my best ball drafts. Let me just grab Berkey. Come on. Make a damn pick, Mike MCD. No one gives a shit. You're going to lose anyways. I'm going to take your money. Hey, there we go. Dak Prescott. All right, so I'm going to grab Burkhead. I don't understand how Burkhead is falling this far. He was like a 6th round pick in fantasy drafts last year, and I don't think the outlook is that much different. yes, Sony Michel is definitely the guy to have there, and he's the early down back and will get a lot of the goal line touches. But when Burkhead finally got back healthy last year, he had a lot of game. Like, let me Rex Burkhead. Look at his touch totals from some of these games. Like when he finally got back, he had a 17 touch game, he had a 16 touch game, and like he had a 19 touch game in the beginning of the year. And obviously, like you don't have in best ball, you're not the one who decides, when to start players and when not to. So Burkett is a perfect example because he will. I can guarantee you, he will have games next year where the Patriots want to use him and give him 15 plus touches. A running back that you can get in the 12th round that you're pretty likely to get 15 to 20 touches from, I think is a steal. And he could be used on the goal line. He could be used in the passing game. So I've been grabbing Burkhead. I think between Burkhead and Jaylen Samuels, they're going to give me plenty of really good weeks. Let me see if I could just... Nope, that ain't it. Nope, that ain't it either. Oh, okay, cool. I could just put this as the main screen. So Mike Beers basically did this study where he looked at MFL data, because I don't know if you've ever heard of My Fantasy League, MFL. They're another site that does best ball drafts, and he has access to their data. He's got access to their data, right? And what he did was really compile all of the team's data and find out how many roster spots filled with certain positions are like the most likely to win your league, right? So basically, this first chart will show you that teams who drafted just one quarterback in best ball had the lowest winning percentage. Obviously, that's not hard to understand because if your quarterback got hurt or if he's on a bye week, you're getting 0 points from that spot. So the highest win rate among people that drafted quarterbacks was drafting 2 to 3 quarterbacks. 2 was the highest percentage. Let's see what else we got here. For running backs, that was highest between 5 and 6. 5 and 6 were easily the highest. They were like 0.1 percentage apart. So between 5 and 6 is the sweet spot. For tight ends, it was exactly tied for 2 and 3. So no difference there. And for wide receivers, the sweet spot was 7. Between 7 and 8 is a little bit better than 7 and 6. So shoot for the higher side of that. So realistically, the best combination of drafting players is 2 quarterbacks, 6 running backs, 3 tight ends, and 7 wide receivers. I don't know if that math adds up whatsoever, but that's really basic. Obviously, that is not like that does not put everything into context. So that doesn't take into account like, okay, well, you drafted Travis Kelce first, so should you really be drafting 3 tight ends? Probably not. But it's cool to see actual data behind it because best ball is so new right now, and it hasn't really been. I haven't seen a lot of research on it. So for someone to start doing the research, Mike Beers is his name. If you want to go find him on Twitter, yeah, Beers, bro. Go do that because he's an interesting follow. I've been trying to get him on to interview for the behind the scenes series, but he keeps leaving me on fucking red. All right, so listen, he ain't answering me on Twitter, so might be a little bit salty about it. What else we got here? Oh, okay. So I actually made a pick when you guys weren't looking. I sniped you. I took Nyheim Hines. I don't know why, but it was the 13th round. I just feel like he'll have like 3 or 4 games where he catches like 7 balls. So whatever. I should have took Latavius Murray. I forgot he's so far down the draft. Latavius Murray's a great grab. If you're playing in best ball like right now, if you start drafting, if you go right after this video, go to draft.com, use my promo code, get $3, join a draft. Latavius Murray is a fantastic 14th round pick because he's going to be on the Saints. I would put his over-under of rushing touchdowns at 8.5, maybe 9. So he's going to give you touchdowns like a decent amount of weeks, and I think he's a great best ball pick. And of course, we know he can handle a workhorse workload if Kamara were to get injured or anything. He's not injury prone at all, but. All right, so we are breaching the end of the draft. So I think we have 5 rounds left, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. So 3 of these are probably going to be quarterbacks for me. My strategy is, like I said, if I pick a guy like Kelce, I'll probably go with 2 tight ends, which means I'll go with 3 quarterbacks and vice versa. So there's not a lot of good quarterbacks left, actually, which is kind of shitty. But still, if you mix and match a bunch of these guys, I'm sure you'll be fine. Damn, he took Jimmy Garoppolo. That's who I was looking at. Kirk Cousins. Do I really want to take Kirk? Yeah, he's fine. Yeah, the weapons are just too good, I feel like, to pass up on. I think that Vikings offense will be. They won't be how they finished last year. They are going to run the ball a lot more, which is why I'm getting a lot higher on Dalvin Cook than I had originally been in this offseason. But he still has a tandem of the two best wide receivers in the NFL. And I think Dalvin Cook is going to put up really, really good receiving numbers as well, which, of course, helps Kirk Cousins. So waiting for the 14th round, I'm going to get Cousins. I'll probably be able to mix and match like Matt Stafford with Derek Carr, and I'll be completely fine with that. Not too worried about the quarterback position. I already have 7 running backs, so I'm probably not looking at running backs anymore, although I do still like TJ Yeldon a lot because he hasn't ended up on a team yet, so it's hard to kind of draft him. But if he ends up on the right situation, like Philly, he is an absolute steal in the 15th round. I like Jamal Williams, not as a player. I hate Jamal Williams, but for best ball, he's great because we saw like what happened when Aaron Jones went down last year. Jamal Williams became a 20-touch guy, and he's really going to be like one of 2 running backs on the roster this year. It's him, Aaron Jones, and really no one else. They might draft a guy. I wouldn't be surprised. If the Packers go ahead and draft a running back within, the top 3, maybe 4 rounds, then I could definitely see that person competing with Jamal Williams for the backup spot. But Jamal Williams is a guy I like taking at the end of the drafts here. Kalen Ballage, like I said, I'd rather take him than Kenyon Drake 10 rounds later. So he's interesting to me. Wide receiver. Definitely don't like Callaway after OBJ came to Cleveland. Michael Gallup. He's someone that like people just get high on for no reason. He's sort of like James Washington, where you just like remember hype from last season, but have literally no proof and no production from them in order to back up your hype for them. So I don't like that. Miller, I love Anthony Miller, but I just can't trust Mitchell Trubisky whatsoever. John Brown, not in Buffalo. Deshaun Jackson, I will take. Deshaun Jackson. I saw on a sports book that his over-under for receiving yards is set at 900, and I believe his touchdowns were 7.5. If you can get 900 yards and 7.5 touchdowns from your 15th round pick in these drafts, you are sitting pretty. And Deshaun Jackson, like a lot of these big threat guys, perfect for best ball. Because again, you don't have to decide when to play them. But on the week that he goes off and catches a 70-yard touchdown, now that he's paired up with the big arm Carson Wentz, that'll probably be semi-often. He's pretty much guaranteed to be into your starting lineup unless 3 of your wide receivers somehow outperformed him that week, which is a good problem to have for you anyways. You don't have to worry about it. So Deshaun Jackson is a great pick at these later rounds, especially ahead of guys like Michael Gallup or Zay Jones, like Chris Herndon, especially with all the new weapons coming in. So I like Deshaun Jackson there. So we have 1 quarterback, 1 tight end, 7 running backs, 6 wide receivers. And as I'm breaking these down, guys, like if you think my analysis is good here, I'm telling you, you are going to want to grab my draft guide. I make a Big Dog's Gotta Eat fantasy draft kit every summer, and I put a shitload of work into it. It's like $20. BigDogsDraftGuide.com. If you get it now, you're getting 25% off before April 1st. It's literally my top sleepers, my top busts, my must-draft players, all very in-depth articles, my top 250 big board rankings, positional rankings by tier. It has exclusive articles about the fantasy industry. It has my top 15 websites and resources. So like if you can't find something specific inside my draft guide, I will list and give you inside the draft guide like literally any website or resource you need to find, whether it's finding snap counts and snap percentages, whether it's injury history or player prediction, player analysis, literally any resource that you could possibly want to find, contracts, player contracts. I will have those resources listed in the draft guide as well. And then, of course, my Bible, the Bible, which is like 8,000 words of me writing a monster article, how to attack every single position in your draft for your 2019 fantasy football season. It's a ridiculous amount of value. I spend a shitload of time working on it and getting it out to you guys. And it is available. It's completely interactive. Videos, links. It's available on your phone, on your tablet, on your desktop. It's literally all you need for your draft. I promise you that. BigDogsDraftGuide.com. Grab it before April 1st, and you will get 25% off because it's a pre-order price. I love you. Every single one of you, even if you give me a thumbs down. Speaking of, if you're enjoying the video so far, I would also like a thumbs up would be gorgeous. And subscribe to the channel if you're new because we're talking everything 2019 fantasy football all the way up and through your drafts into the season, like literally just for the rest of my life. Shit, I'm locked into this forever, I guess, huh? All right. Is there any quarterbacks left? Oh god, quarterbacks went down quick. Shit. All right. Well, this stinks, kind of. Nick Foles, Dalton, Mariota. I'm going to go with Dalton here. Assuming that he's back. Oh, yeah, February 15th, he was already tossing a football. He'll be the starter in Cincy. And Cincy has a really low-key solid group of weapons. A.J. Green, Tyler Boyd broke out. Joe Mixon as a pass-catching back. Possibly Gio after keeping him. So I like Dalton as a low-key guy that you can get, as quarterback like 25 off the board. So Dalton would be my pick there. Tight end, you know what? I like Jimmy Graham more this year than I did last year. He's finally going at the ADP where he should have fucking went last year. I don't know. People were picking him in the 5th round, which is literally out of control. Jimmy Graham now, though, like I said, if you're not going to get a tight end that is elite, or if you want to pair your elite tight end like I'm about to do with Jimmy Graham, if he falls to me, you want to get the guys that have high touchdown upside. I know he didn't score a lot of touchdowns last year, but his week-over-week touchdown upside is not going to be on my team because someone else just drafted him. But just for shits and for giggies, I'm going to take Mark Andrews here, though, if he falls to me. And I'll tell you why. I got some big facts. I got fucking big facts for everybody. I'm telling you, bro, if you think the big facts here are legit, you're going to be blown away by the draft guide. BigDogsDraftGuide.com. Yeah, grab broom and falls for you, chump. All right, so Mark Andrews. I was looking at some numbers because I was excited about Chris Herndon this offseason. And then they added Jameson Crowder, extended Quincy Enunwa, added Le'Veon Bell, and I'm not excited about him anymore. So the reason being was this. He topped 500 receiving yards as a rookie. That rarely ever happens as a tight end. I went back and looked at the last 20 years of rookie tight ends. Chris Herndon's 504 or whatever receiving yards he had was the 12th best receiving total of tight end rookies over the last 20 years. Top 12. Mark Andrews had more receiving yards than Chris Herndon did. He was like the number 7 or 8 best rookie production over the last 20 years. But Mark Andrews is not being talked about whatsoever. And we look at the Baltimore offense, and you're like, I don't really want a part of that offense at all. Mark Andrews was the only guy who actually produced with Lamar Jackson on the field throwing the ball. He was like the only constant there, and he was the main target when it came to Lamar Jackson's passes. So he stayed heavily involved, and it looks like he was like the security blanket. Look at Mark Andrews. I'm not surprised he broke out. 6'5", 256, so he has very good size. 84th percentile weight-adjusted speed score. College dominator and breakout age are both above the 55th percentile. Best comparable player to Eric Ebron. So I don't think it was fluky that we saw Mark Andrews have a good year. And I don't think it's going to be fluky, even with a crowded tight end core there in Baltimore. I don't think it's going to be fluky if he progresses and he goes from 500 yards or 500, whatever he had last year. Let me see how many he had last year. 552. 9th in the league in air yards, so he's getting the downfield throws. 2nd in yards per target, 2nd in yards per reception. 9th in target separation. The guy was good. 2nd among tight ends in QB rating when targeted. Target premium number 2. 7th in fantasy points per route. 4th in fantasy points per target. The guy was good. The guy was good, man. I'm telling you. So if he can improve on the 550 receiving yards and get somewhere in like the 650 to 700 range, he's going to be a top 10 fantasy tight end. And he's someone you can get as like the 20th tight end off the board. So keep an eye on Mark Andrews. And I'm going to grab a quarterback for my last pick. Hopefully there's a starting quarterback still left. Oh, God. Imagine I ended up with Eli. Fuck, I wanted to get Mariota there. Oh, this is going to be ugly. I'm going to take Josh Rosen. Rosen's my boy. Rosen's my fucking boy. I'm going to go down the ship with fucking Rosen this year. And you guys are all going to laugh at me like I'm a fool. And he's probably going to get traded or benched for Kyler Murray. So it's going to be fucking miserable, actually. But if they don't get Kyler Murray, then Josh Rosen, I think, is in for a big bounce back year. And y'all are sleeping on the boy. Yeah, I would definitely take Rosen over Flacco in Denver, Eli Manning, Case Keenum. Give me Joshy Rosen. Give me Joshy Rosen. All right, so that is my squad. Where's my squad? You're not showing my team, bro. Show my team, bro. All right, well, anyways, the point of this is to get the analysis that I'm giving to you, because I pretty much just speak for like 45 straight minutes on this, right? And I just give you analysis of a lot of players that are picked. Not so much, don't worry about my team, because I can barely pay attention to the team while I'm talking to you guys for an hour straight. But I want to help you guys with some tips for best ball, because a lot of you guys joined last year. I think like I get to see, because you guys use my promo code if you do sign up, I get to see how many registrants use it. And there was like over 600 of you guys used it last year. And I'm assuming that number is going to match or if not like double this year. So So a lot of people are getting more into it, and I think it's going to become more and more of a mainstream thing because people love football, and it's all year round, and people love drafting. That's like one of the best parts about fantasy football. So you could join draft, and you could play in leagues that are serious for, as small as $1. I join dollar leagues like every day. So go on draft.com, enter BDGE as a promo code, and give the fucking deposit $10. You'll be good for 2 months. You'll get $3 on top of that if you use promo code BDGE. Add me, Nick Ercolano, and we will draft together. I'll add you back, and we're good to go. So that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure you hit the thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you're new, and make sure you check out BigDogsDraftGuide.com. Hopefully this fucking thing doesn't crash right now. If it does, I am fucking quitting YouTube and terminating my channel. So if you don't see me again, that's why.